one of the things that I would love to hear from you is about how you sort of navigate rejection.
I think just having resilience and not taking it personally, because you and I have probably both been on the other side where someone has asked us to do something and it's not convenient, or we're not in the office, or we don't have the opportunity to follow through. So we have to unfortunately decline. And it's nothing personal against the person, but that's just our situation. Like, yeah, we're always juggling lots of different things. So I think I've learned to not take it personally, and just having that resilience. And it's something that I also teach my kids as well. Of all of the things that a parent can teach children, the number one thing I believe is having the grit and the resilience to face life, to face what's coming to you from lots of different directions as we go through this journey in life. Life is not a romantic comedy that's everything goes smoothly and it's all a happy ending. Like, we're always going through and navigating through lots of different obstacles along the way. And even when we look at someone that appears to be very, very successful, we don't know what they've gone through to get there. And what may look successful on the outside, they may not consider it successful, or maybe they have a different definition as well. Like, I've been on different sides of success. I've been on the verge of homelessness, and I've been at the absolute pinnacle of incredible success and opportunities. And it's something that is always fluid. It's not like, oh, I've got here success and now I'm okay, because that may not stay, that may not sustain. You don't know how long it's going to stay there, and how long the opportunity is going to be there, and what obstacles are going to come to you, and what hazards or risks that you're going to face along the way as well. So I've learned to I've learned to understand that success is constantly moving, constantly flowing. And I come from the sports and fitness background, so I have a lot of analogies for sports and for fitness. And when you're training your muscles and you go to the gym, if you go to the gym for 2 hours and you do lots and lots of heavy training, that's not going to really make a difference to your body or to your health. But if you go to the gym for 20 minutes a few times a week, and you repeat that for the next 5 years or 10 years, it's going to have incredible positive results on you. And I think success is the same. If you suddenly find yourself in a lucky position where, oh, I've got a bonus, or a great opportunity has come, or a really awesome project is right in front of me, you just got to consistently take those steps that are always the success, to keep the success unfolding. Small things like going to the gym and drinking water and doing exercise and practicing and studying, all of these things put together over a long period of time is what really builds your success and your ability to be able to make the most of opportunities. I believe all of us have opportunities that are constantly coming onto our plate, coming into our life, but do we have the ability to take advantage of it? When I was younger and less experienced, there were opportunities that came to me, but I did not have the ability to be able to take them. So you miss those opportunities. Or
like, just going there with what you're saying with the ability, right? I'd love to understand what your perception of ability is.
Being aware of what the standard is in a particular field. So I work in health and wellness, and I specifically work in health and wellness business. I used to be a coach and a trainer, and I used to teach classes and all those sort of things as a practitioner. But I've improved my ability to be able to teach other people how to do that, and then how to run successful businesses where those things can be used. And and that businesses can be successful. But then there's always something to learn. You know, you learn more about marketing, or learn more about technology, or learn more about the latest trends and products and equipment that's coming. It's never ending. So I think we always have to have an attitude of constant improving, but never settling. Many years ago, I was studying martial arts, and I did it for many years. After about 10 years, you get to the point where you can qualify for your black belt. And it takes a lot of difficult training. It's a lot of commitment, a lot of pain, a lot of torture, a lot of suffering, and a lot of enjoyment, but it's certainly a lot of practice to get to that point. Now, at the day of my black belt grading, I was living in Brisbane, going to QUT, Queensland University of Technology, studying there. And on the day of our grading, we arrive in the morning. The first thing we need to do is run from QUT in the city out to St. Lucia University, go around, and then run back to the city again. The entire trip is about 21 kilometers. It's like a half marathon.
Yeah.
So before you start your black belt grading, you need to run a half marathon, and you need to do it within a certain amount of time. I think it was like 90 minutes or 100 minutes, something like that.
Oh, wow.
So you need to be on it. So by the time you arrive back to the dojo, you're pretty exhausted, and you immediately need to change into your uniform, and then you start your fighting. And you're fighting against people that have not run a half marathon, because they're not doing their grading today, but we are. So people doing the grading are all exhausted, and now we're sparring and we're fighting against people that are not exhausted. They're fresh. So that in itself becomes very difficult. And this goes on for hours and hours. After about half a day, for black belt grading, it's a long commitment. It takes hours and maybe more than half a day. I was completely exhausted. I had broken ribs, had blood coming down from my nose, and just like at the absolute limit of my ability and my physical fitness and my mental fitness. And I was sitting on my knees, and the sensei called everybody up one by one. On that day, I was the only person going from brown belt to black belt. So I was the only person going for the black belt grading. There was many other people doing different levels. He called me up to the front, and he said, Ed, tell me, what is the meaning of the black belt? And after being completely exhausted, I said, the meaning of the black belt is that now I've learnt everything I need to learn, and I can start to teach. And he said, no, you don't understand the meaning of the black belt. You fail your grading. Go back and try again next year. So you need to wait a year. Now, I was a little bit upset about that. I did not come back to training for about 4 months. Finally, I had a lot of time to self-reflect, and I came back after 4 months and showed up to training. I saw the sensei. We bowed to each other. He acknowledged that I was there. I acknowledged that I'd come and didn't say anything. And then I just got back into my training and did that for about another 8 months. And then finally got to the day of the grading again and went through the entire process all over again. At the end of the day, he called me to the front. Ed, what is the meaning of the black belt? And this time I said, the meaning of the black belt is now my mind is open and I'm ready to learn. So he said, yes, you got it. And I think in our life, this principle comes to us so many times in our life. We reach a certain point. All it means is that our mind is open at that point, and then we can look around to what's the next thing that we can learn. And I've applied that in business. I've applied that in my own study as well. No matter what I learn in business, I used to run personal training studios in Australia. I've lived in China for almost 20 years. So I've learned the language, and I've worked on some incredible projects here, but every project is like a stepping stone to the next one. So for example, I was here for about 8 years, and I got called to Shanghai for an interview. The chairman of this huge development company was building a wellness resort outside Shanghai. And at that time, the most I'd learnt about building and construction was setting up a fitness center, ordering equipment, doing some basic design and stuff like that. But now we were facing a project that was a resort. It included kindergarten, restaurants, 5-star hotel, investment property for people to buy and live. Like, it was a huge project. and they were looking for a general manager to take over and develop the entire wellness concept of the resort. So that means all of the programs, working together with Chinese medicine doctors and clinical psychologists and kids trainers and fitness trainers and so on. So when they called me up there, my level was here. Actually, in the fitness industry, my level was already at the top. But now I was being called to the wellness industry in China and asked, do I have the ability to go from here to here? So your first response is yes. They said, have you ever had experience doing construction? And in my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, I've done some construction for a fitness center, but they're talking about construction with heavy machinery, digging the ground and building buildings and things like that. Like it's a different level. But I believe that my gap between here and here was achievable. Whatever I don't know, I can learn. I have enough knowledge to understand the basics and then the ability to be able to learn more. So that then became a really fast learning curve for learning all of those new things that I didn't know. But one thing I've found is a real skill or talent of mine is I'm very resourceful. If I don't know how to do something, I can find the people, I can find the information to be able to learn it. And that way, then my level got to here. And then a few years fast forward after that, there's another company doing a wellness city, not a resort, a wellness city, 30 square kilometers, a wellness city, 5G technology and robots and all of these sort of things. And I got called to that project. Do you have the ability to do this? I was here now. Do you have the ability to do this? The answer, yes. So then I need to learn what's after that, what comes after that. And I guess over the last few years, like obviously during COVID, a lot of things slowed down and the industry changed. But I've been working the last few years with a lot of B2B management. So technology companies in China, for example, Baidu and Tencent company, which is WeChat, Huawei, Oppo, some of the biggest technology companies in the world. In southern China, the city called Shenzhen is the technology capital of the world. So all of these technology companies are in Shenzhen, all of their headquarters, and they all compete with each other to get the young, talented staff, the super talent of China. So how do they compete to get these talented people? Is they need to create these workplaces that are really fun for young people. So they have free food, they have massages at lunchtime, they have swimming pools and tennis courts and basketball and fitness centers and personal training and beauty salons and free haircuts and doctors. Like they are unbelievable places to work.
Yeah.
So they outsource people like me to help them design and build the recreation centers inside these headquarters. So these headquarters are high-rise buildings, like 38, 40-story buildings, and they give me an entire floor. They say, the entire floor. This floor belongs to you, Ed Curtin. Create the best recreation and fitness center in China or in the world. So now I can be creative. I've got all my background and experience from working on projects before. So then I can be really creative with these new projects. And the companies are willing to invest huge money to be able to do it. So you also have that freedom as well. Then after those centers open, they need people to operate and manage them. So they also outsource that to people like me and companies like mine. So at the moment, I'm managing about 25 of those centers. I recruit the trainers, I do the training, I build all the systems, help to design them and so on. So that kind of keeps me busy, but it means that here I used to be a PE teacher on the Gold Coast here. And then a fitness trainer, and then working at the Australian Institute of Fitness, and then come to China and working with the fitness company, and then going to Shanghai and doing a resort, and then building a city, and now working with technology companies and managing their businesses.
Yeah,
I
that's
would
really
never be able to go. Yeah, I'll never be able to go to here from here. It's taken many, many steps to get there. And that's what people have to realize, that with age comes experience. And with that experience is that ability to be able to step up levels. And one of the big problems I see in the industry right now, in the wellness industry, is you've got young people coming out of school and they want to be successful and own a big wellness center or build a huge fitness chain or something like that. But they haven't done the groundwork. They haven't, been in the trenches and gone through and learnt everything that they need to know. Because that most of the stuff we learn is not from books, right? It's from the experience in the game, in the
100%.
game of life.
I was actually just watching a video, I think it was the other day, where the parents had removed all the mobile phones and installed landlines for their kids. So the kids had to talk to each other. If they wanted to talk to their friends, they had to actually pick up a phone, talk to them, understand how, if someone doesn't answer or if there's a long silence, like how to handle all that. And just, it reminded me, like, all the social skills that we've lost. I wonder why, right? Like all those little things, the things that we don't really think about, that's what actually builds us up. And if we don't have that, I mean, technology is great, but that human to human experience and, like what you're saying, that experiential learning is so important, right?
Yeah. And even like, for example, with working with children, I've designed kids programs for Nike. Like I designed the Nike sports program global. I'm the designer of that program, and I've designed the Fit Kids program and many other programs working with children.
Right.
And one of the important aspects of designing those programs is you need to set up challenges that give children an opportunity to succeed and also to fail. It's not, it can't be like PE classes now. Like when you look at the school reports now, this child is really good at kindness and the interaction with others, and they put in lots of effort. The real world is not like that.
Yeah.
The real world is, guess what? You're going to invest your life savings to open your business, and it's going to go bankrupt, and you're going to be on the verge of homelessness. What are you going to do? It's great that you're kind. It's great that you keep trying. He's a good worker. Okay, but how are you going to face some of those difficulties where people suffer mental health problems and breakdowns and the risk of suicide and breaking up families and things like that? Like, this is the reality of life. So when I play with my kids, I set up the opportunities for them to win and be successful, but also have the opportunity to fail as well. My youngest son, he's 11 years old. I was doing a little bit of boxing with him. So when you're doing a little bit of boxing with kids, it's natural for you to just hold the pads and let them hit, right? Let them feel like, oh yeah, I'm boxing. But every 30 seconds or 1 minute or so, I'll just tap him on the side of the head. He's like, Daddy, what are you doing? I said, well, hey, you need to be ready for what's coming at you.
Yeah.
And then when something is coming at you, you've got three choices. Number one, you can turn your head and try to avoid it. And you don't know where it's going to hit you. You don't know what's happening, but you're basically turning away and running away from it. The second option is you can try to block yourself and it's going to hit you and you're going to protect yourself. But how many times can you do that? And the third option is you can see something coming at you and you can realize, okay, this is coming to me here. All I need to do is turn my head and tap. And now I've redirected that energy away from me. So I'm aware of what's coming at me. I keep my eyes on it and I know how to let it flow and how to redirect the energy. And the same thing goes in business and in life as well. Some people run away from the problems. Some people just try to shield themselves. But the smart people are the ones that are ready for what's coming and they know how to direct it and let it flow.
And it's interesting that you say that because, as you were talking about moving up the ladder, and in my mind is thinking you have to have certain skills to be able to do that, right? Like you already talked about resilience and being resourceful was the word that you used, right? But I would link that back to curiosity, because if you didn't have that, then you wouldn't know where or what to explore. And there, I would assume there would be a part that's a self-trusting part in there also, that you're there. There might be a bit of a challenge, or there might be something that you haven't done, but there is a self-belief that that's something that you'll figure out. And I guess the other one would probably be a drive, right? Like, you'd have to have an innate drive to want to get to that place. So
Yeah.
I'm curious to know, as people are going through those steps or ladders and climbing up that ladder, when they do come across a challenge, what is the best way to face that?
That's a really good question. And from my experience, like in my opinion, and I'm no expert, but in my opinion, I would say look at the tools that you do have on hand, and then also identify what are the things that are missing. So some people will see a difficult challenge, like, or an opportunity being presented, but they think, oh, I don't have the skills to do that. So they don't take it. But if they just stop for a moment and think, what do I have? Do I have the skills A, B, and C? Yes. So it's only D and E that I need to work on,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we always imagine things are much more terrifying or bad than what they really are. And we also overestimate how fantastic things are going to be as well. I like to stay in the middle, don't ever get too excited about anything, because that excitement can drop down pretty quickly. But also don't ever get too burdened with the stress or the negativity of things that come in your life as well, because it's not going to last long, right? Life is always flowing, energy is always flowing. So there's been times where people may feel like, oh, I'm at the bottom of the barrel. This is as bad as my life can get. My marriage is over. I've got poor health. I've got no money. I lost my job. Okay, well, guess what? You can only go up from there, right? So look at, what tools do I have? And then what do I need to work on? And so being resourceful, like you said, is being curious. Okay, so if I need to learn about the, let's say, for example, I did a project where we had to install a glass elevator. I've never installed an elevator before. I didn't know anything about it. But I knew how to do flooring. I knew how to do some of the other basic stuff around. So then I just realized, well, you know what? I know A, B, and C. I just never done an elevator before. So research about elevators. So then I did heaps of study about understanding about elevators, the pit underneath them, and the loading capacity, the amount of people using it per day, all of these things. So I understood. I learned how to understand all of that part of it. So then when I'm talking to the engineers and the construction crew, I've at least got a basic understanding and able to communicate with them on a level that where they realize, oh, this guy, he's quite aware of what we're doing. So don't ever allow yourself to be caught out where you're putting yourself in a position where you have zero ability and people say, oh my God, this person doesn't know anything. So at least learn enough and be, be curious enough, and make sure that you prepare as much of the toolkits as you can. And I'll give you one more example, one story. Early in my career, I wanted to promote my business, a personal training studio on the Gold Coast. And I didn't have a very big network, but I knew a couple of people. I knew a physiotherapist. I knew a guy who was a professional runner, and I knew someone else that was like a massage therapist. So I wanted to do like a small workshop and invite all the people I know, come to this workshop. You're going to learn about fitness, how to lose weight. You're going to learn about running technique. You're going to learn about good posture, and you're going to learn about something else. Now, I started the advertising before I had any of these people arranged. So I went to my first friend, Kerry. I said, Kerry, can you come and do this workshop with me? And he said, oh, who else is doing it? I said, oh, Bob's also coming. and Bill's also coming, and John's also coming. And he said, oh, really? Those guys are coming? Okay, I'll come and join. And then I go to Bob. I say, hey, Bob, can you come and do this workshop with me? And he says, who else is doing it? I say, well, Kerry's doing it, and Bill's doing it, and John's doing it. Oh, really? They're doing it? Okay, great. I'll come. And I did that for every person. And then finally, they're all coming. But I was leveraging the, I was leveraging that they were going to come even before they were confirmed, so that they would all agree. And finally, they all show up and they say, who was the first one to agree? And I said, you were, Kerry. But having the courage, I guess, to believe maybe my abilities here, I can, if I stretch myself, I can get to here. So I could invite 12 or 15 people to come and listen to the workshop. But I believed I had the communication skills or the ability to ask my professional friends to come and support. And it was a great workshop.
What you've highlighted there is the power of community and the power of networking, right? And I mean, being courageous is super important, because without you being able to do that first step, none of that would have happened. So I'm curious to know, when an entrepreneur or business owner is wanting to grow and will realize that there is only so many hours in a day, and you can't really do everything, and you probably need to start delegating certain tasks, or when would you say is the right time to hire someone, and what would be the first task that you delegate to someone?
Okay, so I want to firstly start by letting people know that it was never my dream to be an entrepreneur. I don't think any kid grows up thinking, I'm going to be an entrepreneur one day. You know, we always say, oh, I want to do this. Actually, I wanted to be a teacher. So I became a physical education teacher. That was my goal. And I got into that. But I never wanted to be an entrepreneur. Some of my clients were entrepreneurs, and I saw the stressful lives that they had. You know, it's not like a 9 to 5. It's not like a normal salary. It's not reliable. You don't have all of the benefits of being an employee. It's really, really hard work. But people have this perception of, oh, entrepreneurs have got it all. No, my brother, no, my sister, they have sacrificed so much to be able to get there. So the only reason I'm an entrepreneur is because I reached a point where the people I was working for knew less about the business than what I knew. And so when I'm trying to explain to them, oh, we should bring a traditional Chinese medicine doctor in and do some TCM classes here. But the owner and investor, they don't know anything about TCM, or they don't understand anything about that. They just think about what's the cost, what's the benefit, how much profit, what can we sell? Like they just think like that. So I reached the point where I found, you know what, I really want to do some amazing projects and bring some amazing programs and creative things together. But I'm working for people that just don't get it. So I reached a point where I thought, you know what, one of these projects that I did, another one outside in northern China, I was trying to convince the investor, and finally I took over the project myself, and I just let them to be a silent partner. So then I was the leader of the project after that. Now, in terms of when do you hire people, when you reach a point where you find the bottleneck is you, right? If every day, let's say when we do a new project, I might have a 3-month timeline. It's called a Gantt chart, right? You got a Gantt chart has got week 1 here, week 2, week 3, and all of the things that should be achieved by certain deadlines to get to the final point, which is the official grand opening and the launch. So if the launch is January 1, that means from now we've got 2.5 months. That's like 60, like we got 75 days to open a project by the 1st of January. So I work back from there. So the last week of December, we need to have all of the equipment installed. And the middle of December, we need to have this, and working back to now. So as we're rolling through the timeline, and I've got so many responsibilities that rely on me. if I get to the point where I see, oh, the timeline is behind schedule because I have not finished 3 things, then I know it's time to get someone to take over those things. So don't ever be the bottleneck in your project or in the timeline. When you find you are the bottleneck in the progress, that's when it's time to get someone. And we have amazing technology now. You know, these AI assistants that are here, they are incredible. You can accomplish so much, even if it's like taking programs or taking business proposals or value propositions, things like that, and running them through the AI assistants to just give you bullet point feedback. You know, rather than going through an 85-page document, just feed it into AI and then come out with like 12 points, where they get you to identify certain things. So it's helped me to speed up a lot of those processes there, which normally would take time to get a legal person or a finance, checking the budget and things like that. But I am like the name of my company is called World Wellness Group, because I don't call it Ed Curtin, I don't call it World Wellness, I call it World Wellness Group, because every single project that I've ever brought to life has come about from a large number of people working together. So as I said at the beginning, I'm a resourceful person. I know where to find an architect that knows how to design a yoga room. I know where to find a fitness professional that specializes in high performance training. So I've got all of the resources of those people and the products around. I know where to find them. So that's like I said, that's one of the things I'm best at.
And for the listeners that are wondering, how do you become resourceful? What would you say?
As you said before, just building as many relationships as possible and letting all of those people know that this is what I do. I work on a lot of different projects. I'm always looking for valuable people and experts to contribute to the things that we're doing. Are you interested in being one of those reserve or backup teams when needed? And of course, everyone says, yeah, I'd love to do that. So you just have those people ready to go. And then when there's a project and there's an opportunity to get those people to come in, then bring them in as well. Like don't just leave people hanging for 6 months with no words. Let them know. Like I've got an architect that lives in Shanghai and she really is amazing on yoga studios. So even now I know how to design a yoga studio myself, but I will get her to do it anyway, or at least to look over the designs for feedback. So that there's more than one person casting their eyes over different things.
And I'm curious to know, you mentioned timelines when you were talking about projects. And so I'm wondering, so say you've got a 5-year project, for example, do you work in chunks of 3 months? I know you said you work backwards as to what you want to achieve, but then when you're building up, do you have tasks that you set up for the first 3 months and what you want to get done and how you're going to get them done, or what's your process?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Also, I always color code the priority things if you got a 5-year timeline or a 5-month timeline or a 5-week timeline. Color code the things in red that are the non-negotiables, something that has to be done to what standard by a certain date, and put those in, and they're non-negotiable. And then the other things kind of work around that. Like, for example, if you're opening a fitness center, let's just talk about something really simple. Opening a fitness center, I need 12 treadmills to be on site 7 days before the opening, because they need to be unpacked, they need to be configured, they need to be connected to internet, they need to be cleaned, they need to be tested. Like, it takes 7 days to prepare all of that and get it ready. So that's non-negotiable, 7 days. And I know if those treadmills arrive 3 days before opening, then we're going to be delayed, because it's non-negotiable. It takes 7 days to have that equipment completely ready. So things like that are absolutely non-negotiable. Another one is the staffing. Like, if you've got a large project, you might have 27 core manpower people. Your doctor, your manager, your supervisor, your massage therapist, blah, 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 whatever. Like they're the people that you have to have. Now, you may not need to have them too far in advance, but they need time for training. They need time for role plays and practice and soft opening and all of those things as well. So you also look at what's the non-negotiable date that we have to have those people.
Mm.
And then you can pre-interview. Like what I normally do is I always try to be ahead of the timeline. If I know I need all of the practitioners ready to go 30 days before the grand opening, so at the soft opening time, then I know I need about 30 days to do all of the training and set up their job descriptions and things like that. So I'll prepare 60 days in advance so that those people are on board. But before that, like for 6 months before that, I don't need them, but I can interview them and then let them know, okay, you're now in the pool or you're successful and this is the starting date. But just have all of those things prepared in advance. Like preparation really, really is the key. When you're doing any project, there's always lots of moving pieces.
Mm.
Nothing is simple. Even a small yoga studio has a lot of different moving pieces. So you're just trying as hard as possible to be ahead of schedule. And I always make a promise. No, I wouldn't say a promise. I have a principle. If an investor says, how long will it take to open this project? Now, if I know I can probably do it in 3 months, I'll say to them 6 months.
Mm.
I'll double the time.
Mm.
And if they say, how much is it going to cost? And if I know I can probably do it for $1 million, I'll tell them $2 million.
Mhm.
I'll double the budget. And then,
like it's creating that buffer, right? And it's so interesting with what you're saying, because there's this concept called activity analysis in occupational therapy, which is pretty much, you look at whatever task that needs to be done or whatever goal that needs to be achieved, and then you break it down, like what is it actually going to take to actually get to that outcome or that goal, right? And what sort of resources are going to be needed? What do you need to grade? And it's this really exciting, because every time I speak to someone about project management, my OT brain just goes ding. That is exactly what OT is about. Like really, how do we make this happen? And what you're talking about, like having that buffer period to make sure that if there are extra costs or extra things that come up, then you're not letting anybody down and you're still getting everything done.
yeah. And I think the being transparent with the investor or the owner is very important. And that's why I always double the time and double the budget. So you're under promising and over delivering. So then when you come in and it's only cost $1 million, even though the budget was 2 million, oh my God, that's so amazing. Wow. And then they're happy to recommend you or use you for the next project.
Yeah.
And likewise, if they think it's going to take 6 months, but hey, guess what? It's ready in 3 months, we can open early. Then that's also really positive as well. Now, what most consultants or project managers will do is they will overpromise to try and get the contract, right? They'll say, it'll probably take 3 months. We can do it in 2 months. And then guess what? Delayed. And it's going to cost, it's going to cost 2 million. They say they can do it for 1 million. Oh, we're over budget as well. But they try to do that to get the contract. Now, what I do is I tell the investors and owners very transparently. I say to them, we can probably do it in this time, but I would like to allow this time realistically to allow for the things that can go wrong and delays and so on. And I'll keep you in the loop and we'll stay in regular contact to show you the progress. And that way, always being transparent.
It's the same thing as salespeople, right? Like you can go to a car dealership and you can have a salesperson that's really, really pushy. And then you can have another one that is there and is helpful whenever you need them to answer anything. And I know I'm the kind of person that will go with a person that gives me that space rather than someone who's, trying to over deliver. It's kind of like talking about people. and understanding how do people work and what works with the people that you're working with and the personalities that you have to I guess integrate. I feel like I have so many questions, but I just realized the time and I'm just mindful. I want to ask you two questions. The first one being, what have been your biggest challenges, maybe three, in terms of like themes and how you might have overcome them? And the second one being just around, if someone's got this innate drive, but they don't know where to start in terms of wanting, to fulfill that burning desire, what would you suggest?
Okay. So for the first question, um, I guess a common challenge is budget. If I've won a contract to help with a project, they will say, this is what the budget is. And that's something that's always going to be a little bit of a stressful point to talk about and negotiate with. So I would love to have $2 million to open a fitness center. And then I know I can do a really, really great job. So then I need to think, well, how do I achieve the creative goal of what we've got as the vision, but make it work within the budget? So then once again, resourcefulness comes in. And one of the reasons I love living in China is because I'm surrounded by resources. All of the factories, all of the materials, everything that you need. If you're willing to do the work, you can find anything you want at very, very good prices and very easy to source. This morning I had a call with a gentleman in USA. Now his business is custom-made infrared saunas.
Mm-hmm.
He makes them by hand. They're beautiful, crafted. He does the handwork himself. Really, really beautiful pieces of artwork. But they're really, really expensive, like 54,000 US dollars for a little infrared sauna that goes into your house. It's the size of a small little bathroom, right? Two people inside, $54,000. Now I said to him, oh, dude, and I quickly went on Alibaba and I pulled up a picture almost identical to the one he makes. I said, check this out, $800.
Yeah.
$800. And he said, yeah, but my customers, they like the handcraftiness and the premium feeling. And I said, bro, you can still have that same finish and you can do the final touches to it, maybe like the outer cover. You can do that by hand, but everything else, like the infrared panels and the plumbing and the hardware and all those things inside, you can find a better way to do it. So this is just an example of just like anyone, I love premium. I love getting the best, get the newest iPhone and have a nice, whatever it is. I like the feeling of having something that's premium, right? But I'm also don't have a big ego that I care so much about that it's been handmade or the brand name or anything like that as well. So I think the biggest challenges that I've always faced is money. So how I overcome that is just being really, really damn resourceful and building that network of people that if I know I need this or I need that, so I need this person, that I can bring them together. And the second one is for people that have really strong drive and don't really know how to get there. I would say just turn on a little bit of courage to take a little step out of your comfort zone, right? When I was a physical education teacher, I had a good job. I worked for the Queensland Education Department, a PE teacher. I had my regular hours, good holidays. My life was really, really stable. But then one afternoon after school, one of the parents said to me, hey, Ed, you look like you're pretty fit. I want to lose some weight. How do I lose weight? Like you obviously, you know what you're doing. And I said, oh, yeah, well, why don't you come to the gym with me and I'll do a workout with you and I'll show you how to do it. And they said, okay. So this daddy came to the gym with me the next day and we did a workout together and I showed him how to exercise and he really loved it. And at the end, he said, hey, Ed, this was really awesome. If I pay you like $20 a week, can we do this every week? And I thought, oh, that's a good idea. This was a long time before personal training,
Yeah.
right? This is like 30 years ago. And I thought, that's not a bad idea. So then this guy would come and he'd pay me money every week. And then a few weeks later, another one of the mothers came to me, and then another parent and another parent. And before I knew it, I had like 10 or 12 parents training with me every week. And I did these little small group classes. They're all paying me these little fees, and I'm running a side business. Now, if I just said no at the beginning, then that never would have happened. I never would have got into this industry. I just would have had my safe little comfort zone and followed the career of a teacher. But because I was curious and willing to step a little bit out of my comfort zone, then the opportunities come. Now, I reached a point where I started to make more money from teaching the parents than I was as a teacher. And I thought, you know what, this is an industry. And I was one of the first personal trainers in Australia.
Oh, wow.
And later on, because I was a teacher, I had experience with education and designing curriculum. So later on, I worked for the Australian Institute of Fitness, designing certifications for personal training industry using my background in education. So everything makes sense when you look back at it. At the time, when I'm a 17-year-old leaving school, oh, I just want to be a PE teacher, nice and cruisy, you know, get to play sport with the kids. But later on, when I look back now, wow, that was one of the best decisions I ever made. And then that led to many, many cascading things along the way. So my advice is, I believe everyone should have some drive for something that you're passionate about. Some people couldn't care less about working in an office or building a business or designing a car or something like that. But for other people, it's their passion. They love it. I've got a really good friend. His son loves garbage trucks. Since he was a little baby, he would have little toy garbage trucks, and then he'd have Lego garbage trucks, and later on he'd take photos of garbage trucks. Now he's a teenager. He has a famous YouTube channel all about garbage trucks. And he uses drones. He flies drones over the garbage trucks and everything. Like he's turned his passion into something that in the future can probably be, you know, really amazing for him. So I think, you know, find what your passion is. What is it that drives you? And just always be willing to step out of that comfort zone and just go for it, you know, just walk towards the things that seem a little bit difficult. One of my favorite inspirations is a guy named David Goggins. So a lot of guys, I guess you know who he is. Now, David Goggins says, on the other side of suffering is greatness. So he says it very raw like that. On the other side of suffering is greatness. You need to push through suffering to find greatness. Now, a nicer or a softer way to say that is you need to go through something that's uncomfortable to get to the reward on the other side. And just like the analogy of the boxing that I said before with my son, if you just block it or you turn away from the difficult things, you're never going to step forward. You're never going to or find anything new. But if you see what's ahead of you and you know how to deflect and know how to move forward, then there's always something really wonderful on the other side.
Yeah, I
I
always
call
say
it greatness.
adversity can be your greatest teacher.
Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah. I'm really
And
curious, and I really want to ask you this, if that's okay. Has your definition of success changed over time? So, you know, from the time that you first started earning any sort of money to what you are now, and what was
yeah.
it then and what is it now?
So I believe throughout our life, we will have moments where we have a paradigm shift, right? We see the world in a certain way, and in 1 second, something can happen and we see it in a different way. Now, living on the Gold Coast, I had it all. I was driving a convertible car along the Gold Coast highway, good job, nice apartment, wearing the nice suit. On the outsides, whoa, Ed Curtin looks like a really successful guy. However, I'd never really explored the rest of the world. And in 2007, I happened to go to China for a holiday. One of my brothers happened to be over here. He said, "Hey, Ed, come and check it out." So I came over for a holiday. Now, I'd come from perfect, the so-called perfect lifestyle on the Gold Coast. And then a couple of days later, I'm sitting at 2 a.m. in the morning. I'm sitting on the side of the street with my brother on a little plastic chair, drinking a Chinese beer and eating barbecue on a stick. That experience cost about $2 to have that experience. But I never forget what it felt like at that moment where I thought, oh my God, all of the things I thought were important to me mean nothing compared to this moment right now.
If you can go back to that moment in your brain, what were two emotions that you can tap into in that moment?
I felt a little bit disgusted in myself.
Right.
That the person, when I stepped out of myself and looked at the guy driving the car on the Gold Coast highway and seeing me, I felt a little bit disgusted with that guy.
Wow.
And I said, I don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
That's one emotion. Yeah, it's a pretty powerful one, but certainly. And then the other one, I guess, the other emotion, maybe contentment, in that, wow, it really does not take much in this world to feel successful and happy. So I have that feeling of contentment that I didn't need to stress myself and push myself and sacrifice so much, because actually some of the most amazing experiences are the most simple ones. And I truly believe now the meaning of life, because I've worked with a lot of different types of people, babies all the way to people in their 90 years old. So I've had a great cross section of communication and friendships with lots of different people. And through all of those interaction, always asking questions and learning and, understanding more about life and people's journeys. And the definition for the meaning of life for me now is just gathering as many wonderful memories as you can. Because as we go through our journey of life, that's the only thing we can hold on to. The car that I had on the Gold Coast, if I had that car now, 20 years later, it's worthless. I remember in 2007, I was one of the first people to get an iPhone 4. Wow, look at me, big man, iPhone 4. How much is an iPhone 4 worth now? So the things that at a moment we think is so valuable to us, at a different moment in time, it means nothing. But the memory of sitting with my brother, or the memory of like traveling to Italy and having a moment eating gelato in Trieste, looking at the sea in Italy. That moment is burned into my brain for the rest of my life. So if you can gather as many of those memories, like dozens or hundreds or thousands of those memories on your journey through life, you're carrying all that wealth with you. You don't even have to talk about it to other people because it belongs to you. Those memories belong to me. Now, honestly, living in China, when I go back to visit Australia and I tell stories, or I talk a little bit about Chinese culture or my experiences in China, most people don't care. So I don't bother talking too much about all the experiences that I've had because they actually belong to me. And now I feel light, but I feel so full of amazing memories that I'm carrying with me through this journey. I've got so much wealth in my mind, in my hands. And now I've found an amazing partner that I'm sharing the journey with as well. So we're creating more memories together.
I love it. I feel goosebumps in my stomach as I hear you speak. That's so exciting. Yeah, that's amazing. Um, it's interesting how when the ego drops and you can just connect with that pure innate you, right? And just experience life as is and see the bliss. Yeah, it's just
Mm.
mm,
And you know, sometimes you see like an older person that's been through it all. They've been through everything in life, and you look at them and they just wear a t-shirt or maybe some thongs. They hang around Byron Bay or something like that. Like they appear that they just don't care, but actually they've gone through everything to they have elevated themselves to that point where the opinions and the appearance on the outside no longer matters to them. So
mm,
now when I see someone like that, I think, oh, that's someone I want to talk to. I want to hear
mm,
about their journey, you know. What brought
mm,
them to come in Byron Bay and chill out like in a life like this? And you'll get some amazing stories, you know. Don't ever assume that you can look at someone and think that you know what their story is. No way.
mm. I agree. 100%.
You know, Shraddha, the at the beginning of our conversation, you said you were great. You were also very humble and grateful to me to agree to join you. You know what? When I saw your invitation, I was humbled and grateful that someone uh, wants to listen and wants to learn and share some stories. So I think if people do come down a little bit to that point of being humbled, and this a lot of this comes back to when I was studying martial arts and that moment where I was told that I failed my grading, and then later on, a year later, I realized that it just means that my mind is open. Because when you get to black belt in martial arts,
Mm,
then you've got first dan, second dan, third dan, like it goes way beyond black belt, right?
yeah.
And it takes about 10 years to achieve each level.
Mm,
So if you see a grand master that's got a black belt with 5 stripes on it, that's like 70 years to
mm.
get there. So do
Yeah.
you think we have something to learn from that person? Oh dear, yes. But a lot of people out in society, they don't wear the martial arts uniform and the black belt. You don't see
Mm,
that. But you should believe that
mm,
they've got their belts that they've earned through their life as well.
mm.
So we can always learn and be open to listening to other people. Every single person has something valuable to offer and something really important to teach us. So I believe is one of the most important things that we can do for our mental and our physical health, because it allows us to move the energy.
Yeah, and that's why I'm so fascinated with like the 5 elements of TCM. And you know how like the different elements are connected to the different organs, and the different organs represent the different emotions in your body, and the emotions represent different physical manifestations. It's pretty cool when you look at how everything flows, and then you look
Yeah.
at nature and the seasons, and if we lived our life like that and accepted that sometimes we're going to have that hibernation period and it's okay, rather than trying to
Yep.
fight that.
And also Western people have a habit of um, wanting everything to be tangible, right? We use Western science. It's measurable, the numbers, the data, we got proof.
Yeah.
Western medicine is all based on proof and research, but Eastern medicine is not based on that.
Mm.
It's based on wisdom and feeling and
Yeah.
energy and history. Okay,
Amazing.
well,
Thank you.
great talking with you.
Yeah, same. All right.
Bye
Bye.
bye.